Hello y'all, my name is probably Casey and welcome to what is probably my channel.
Case can probably read. Bum.
So for the few people that I do have watching my videos, you must notice that there is a discrepancy week to week with my background. I'm still new to this, so I'm still kind of trying to figure out where's the best place to record these and also when's the best time and all of that. Like most of you, I'm sure, our lives are kind of upturned still. My husband's working from home and he is using our office, which is where the bookcase is. So it's not always available for me to shoot videos in there. So I kind of just go wherever I land and wherever the light's best. You probably don't care, but I told you anyway. But anyhow, if you're wondering why it's different from week to week, that is why. Okay, so I'm getting ready to do my May TBR and I have decided to participate in the Asian Readathon that's hosted by Read with Cindy. I'm going to link the announcement video below, assuming I can figure out how to do that. If you haven't heard of this yet and you would like to participate, Read with Cindy actually has a Google Doc that has all the instructions, everything that you need to know. She makes it really easy for you if you'd like to jump in on this. But there are 5 prompts for selecting books. All of it is about Asian representation in literature, so pretty exciting stuff. Read with Cindy also has a list of Asian countries included in that Google Doc that is listed underneath her announcement video. She also has a list of both US and foreign charities that you can donate to throughout the month of May. And she also has a list of read-alongs, readathons that you can participate in. So if you're at all interested, I would suggest you skedaddle on over there and find out more information about it. Anywho, so I've got 4 books that I'm going to read. There are 5 prompts. You can double up on them. I doubled up on one of mine. And I'm going to do 2 prompts and include it in a single book. But all of my authors are of different descents. Let's get started, shall we? So the 5 prompts for the readathon are: 1. Read any book written by an Asian author. 2. Read any book featuring an Asian protagonist. 3. Read any book by an Asian author in your favorite genre. 4. Read any nonfiction book by an Asian author. Or 5. Read any book by an Asian author that's not US centric. So here are the 4 books that I have picked to go along with these prompts. The first one that I picked will cover the book by an Asian author and the book in your favorite genre, and that is going to be We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faizal. She is of Sri Lankan and Arab descent. We Free the Stars is the second book in a duology. The first one is We Hunt the Flame. I read that one last month and I enjoyed it enough that I am going to go ahead and finish out that series. I was surprised. At first I didn't think that I liked it as much as I did, but then I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm going to continue that one and read We Free the Stars to meet those 2 prompts. The next prompt on the list is read any book featuring an Asian protagonist. And for that one, I am going to read Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han, who is Korean American. I recently read the first 2 and I figured that this would be a good way to round out the series, is to use it for this readathon. Okay, the next prompt on the list is read any nonfiction book by an Asian American author. And I am actually going to reread Grit by Angela Duckworth-Lee, or Angela Lee Duckworth. I can't remember which one, but she is a research psychologist, I want to say. She also really works heavily in education. She wrote the book Grit, which is a lot about growth mindset and developing that. She had done a study of students that were entering West Point, which is a prestigious military academy here in the United States. It's probably the most prestigious military academy. It's very difficult to get in. The curriculum is very rigorous. It's demanding mentally and physically. And she did a study where she tried to predict, I think this is correct, she tried to predict and she tried to gather information and predict which students were going to have the wherewithal to see this education all the way through, because there's a very high dropout rate that first year, that freshman year at West Point. So she takes that and she kind of applies that to other areas and how we can develop growth mindset in ourselves. I read this one last summer, and I am going to reread it again. I'm thinking about I read it on Kindle the first time, on my Kindle, and I'm thinking about actually getting a physical copy so that I can annotate and make notes, because I felt like it was a really helpful read. If you're at all interested in that kind of psychology or in growth mindset, I would recommend it. Oh yeah, and Angela Duckworth-Lee is Chinese American. And the final prompt on this list is read a book by an Asian author that's not US centric. For that prompt, I am going to read Silence by Shusaku Endo. You know I probably said that wrong. This book is set in 17th century Japan, and it follows two Portuguese Jesuit priests who I believe are they've gone to Japan to proselytize. From what I understand, it's about their personal faith struggles, but also about some of the opposition that they encounter once they reach Japan, and also some of the things that they have to rethink about themselves. In 2016, a movie adaptation was released of this book, starring everybody's favorite Sith Lord, everybody's second favorite Spider-Man, and everybody's least memorable Jedi Knight, but most memorable dad with a specific set of skills. I watched a review of that movie, and that is actually what made me want to read this book. I haven't actually seen the movie yet. I want to read the book first before I watch it. That's going to be my last one. This is translated from the original Japanese, so it is not a US-centric book. Besides the books that I'm going to be reading for the Asian Readathon, I have two more that I'm going to try and read this month. The first of which is The Making of Biblical Womanhood, How the Subjugation of Women Became Gospel Truth by Beth Allison Barr. Beth Allison Barr is a historian, but her husband was at one time a youth minister in a Southern Baptist church. Many Southern Baptist churches hold to the view of complementarianism, which is a theological view in several different faiths. It says that men and women have complementary but different roles and responsibilities in marriage, in the family, and particularly in religious leadership. Some people have a very strict view of this and even interpret some Bible passages in such a way that they don't believe that a woman should ever hold any kind of leadership over men of any kind. So they're not allowed to preach or to teach or to interpret the Bible in a teaching fashion to men. A lot of churches will still allow women to teach children, but as far as teenage men and up, they are not allowed to be in a position of leadership over them. These churches believe that they have biblical support for this. They believe that their interpretation of the Bible supports this view of complementarianism. This book is actually Beth Allison Barr going through studying those passages in the Bible, studying the church historically, studying the world historically, to make the argument that the Bible does not support the complementarianism view of gender roles. I'm really excited to read this, but I'm also weirdly anxious. I've already read the introduction to this book. There is an anecdote of how the author, of some of the things that the author has gone through at being part of a complementarianist church, but also being an academic and a woman who is deeply educated. I myself was a female clergy member for 8 years in a large Pentecostal denomination. And even though my denomination officially affirmed the leadership of women, the truth is that what an organization officially affirms at the national or state level often is very different from what women experience at the local level in their own churches. And just reading through the introduction, I was taken back to some of the times when well-meaning people approached my husband and informed him that it was not right that I was teaching or preaching, and the Bible does not allow room for women to preach or teach in church. So that is something that I had struggled with for many years, trying to determine where my place in my faith was as a woman. And so I anticipate that this will be a very good read, but I also anticipate that it will be difficult and perhaps emotional. So, and the last book on my list for May is The Way to Rainy Mountain by N. Scott Momaday. This is my book I was supposed to read in high school pick for the month. I was supposed to read this, I think, between my freshman and sophomore years. It was on the summer reading list for my AP English class. So I'm going to try and read that this month. I am excited about this one because I believe that N. Scott Momaday is actually from Oklahoma, which I am too. That's where I am right now. Also, he is an Indigenous author, and I am also Indigenous. I am Navajo and Pueblo Laguna. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And that's all I got for you. I did finish quite a few books this month. If I have time to, I'll try to get a couple of those reviews up, particularly Dread Nation and Deathless Divide if I finish it in time. So be looking for that. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!